Hello, all my beautiful people. It is time once again for another amazing episode of If You Give a Dad a Podcast. So, this week I have with me a wrestler out of the Missouri area, and that is Chris Slammer. I am very excited to have him on the show. We had a really good conversation, and I think that you guys are really going to enjoy it. I am very excited for you guys to hear this episode, and I'm excited for you to hear some of the other great ones that we have coming up over the next few weeks. At the end of the episode, I'll kind of get into it. I did go to Comic-Con this week, so I'll kind of talk about going to that as well. So if you tune in to the end of the episode, you'll hear me talking about what happened at Comic-Con this year in Northwest Arkansas. It was a great time. But for those of you who are here just to hear the Chris Slammer episode, welcome. I hope that you enjoy what you hear, and I hope that you stick around and listen to some of the other great episodes we have here as well. So, if you're as excited as I am, then let's get this show on the road.
If You Give a Dad a Podcast. Hey, Dad.
So where did you actually train at?
I made a really good career out of being able to bump, sell, and I had a punch me face.
I wasn't about to call you dad, so.
Seriously?
I felt like it was in an anime or something.
People get really mad at those videos for some reason. Like it triggers certain people. Yeah.
Wow.
I was actually lost as an infant, and I was taken in by a traveling group of independent wrestlers.
I love it. I'm excited for this stuff.
Bro.
Getting punched in the face on the daily. Do you always do these interviews with your shirt off?
What?
Man, this guy won't shut up.
All right, everybody. So today I have with me a guy that I'm very excited to talk with. I kind of reached out to him on a kind of last minute, in fact, and asked if he'd like to come on the show, and he was more than happy to. I am excited to talk with him. He is a Missouri-based wrestler, and that is Chris Slammer. Man, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Had a
Good.
pretty hectic evening, but, now I'm settled down, got the kids done with their homework and everything, and I'm ready to do the podcast.
All right. Me too. I'm settled down. I'm ready.
Yeah. So I've got to see, some of your stuff that you've done online and everything like that. And you have a very big social media presence. And I'm highly entertained by what I see on your social media as well. And
Awesome.
You seem to get quite a bit of interaction with your fans and everything too. I do look forward to maybe seeing you wrestle here in the future. I try to branch out whenever I can to get to some of the shows that are a little further out of my Northwest Arkansas area. So hopefully I'll get to see you soon.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So we're going to kind of just jump right into this. How did you get into wrestling? What was that one moment that made you decide this is what I want to do?
Oh, from being a little kid, the first time I ever watched wrestling, that's all I've ever wanted to do. Anytime anybody ever asked me anything in my life, what do you want to be when you grow up? Wrestler. So it took me a little longer to take that path than a lot of people, but I've made it, and I get, the old saying goes, living the dream.
Right.
I guess I'm more of a weekend warrior at it. I wish I could do more stuff through the week, but yeah, I've actually been doing quite a bit the last few years. Pretty excited.
That's awesome. I know that you've been doing a lot of stuff with New Breed, and I think I don't know if you still do, but you were holding a championship with them, weren't you, correct?
I lost it December 10th, I think was the last show we had.
Okay.
Last event we had, and I lost that to Superstar Steve.
Superstar
If you go back, I did. If you go back and watch the video, though, my shoulder was about a foot up off the mat, so I don't know. The referee needs to go get an eye exam or something, but yeah, I lost it. That was the TV championship, and we are on TV up in that whole area up there around Lake of the Ozarks and all that.
Okay.
Every Saturday night. I forget the channel right off the top of my head, but it is on every Saturday night up there. And then the next day it is on their YouTube channel. So it is actually a title that does get defended on TV. So that's pretty cool. I held that from March until December. So had a pretty good run with that belt.
Yeah.
And I was two belt champion there for a while. I had the Midwest PopCon championship. I had that for 372 days total. And then I held that belt at the same time as the television title for about 35, 36 days, something like that. And I lost the PopCon title to Dr. Eisen. And that's actually in 2 years. That's only my 2 losses at New Breed was when I lost those 2 belts. So I've got a pretty good run at New Breed. So I'm pretty excited about next year to see what it brings.
Yeah, it looks like you've got a bright future when it comes to this. And I know you said that you don't get to do it as much as you'd like to, but the cool thing is that you are getting to live that dream, even if it is a couple days a week. You know, that I think that's awesome. You know, that you're able to do that.
Yeah, I try to. I mean, almost every weekend I do something. So, yeah. Looking forward to getting this year going. I haven't had anything yet, but this Saturday night we'll get it going again.
So how long have you actually been in wrestling?
I think I got going again in 2016. That's when the ball really got rolling with getting back into it. I kind of had a long road doing it. I had years ago, back in 2003, I started really well. I did a couple times training. My first taste of wrestling was in 90, what was it, 96 or so. I went out to Slammers Wrestling Gym in California. It's a place I'd learned about when I was a kid in magazines, and it's the only wrestling school I'd ever seen. And they actually asked me to come out, and I went out there for a few days, got to go watch some matches. And anyway, I can't honestly tell you what happened to why I never ended up going out there, you know?
Yeah.
But I hold them near and dear to me, and that's why I have the name Slammer. That's my
homage
way to honor them, and somebody that, you know, took the time to. They called me and talked to me, sent me some T-shirts and stuff. It's like, man, you guys cared that much,
right?
Even though I didn't ever go there, it's like that's awesome to me. So I was just, whenever I become a wrestler, I will be Chris Slammer at some point.
That's awesome.
So then I trained with another guy here. He was about an hour away from here. This would have been like 98-ish. And he lived in Jackson, which was about an hour away, and he was ready to get me going. And I went to some shows with him, helped him set the ring up and do stuff. And then they decided his wife took a job in Minnesota, so they moved. And he's like, you know, if you ever want to train, you come to Minnesota to train. So I was like, okay. And I decided I was going to do this. And my dad was sitting in the hospital waiting on a heart transplant. And I went in to tell everybody, well, I'm moving to Minnesota to become a wrestler. So I left, and I was gone for a few weeks. And then I felt like I've got to go home. I was like, hopefully this will work out one day. So I went home. Then a guy actually in Farmington, right by where I live, opened a gym up. And he was a local independent wrestler, and he had a ring. And for about a year, I just went over there, and at night we'd do some stuff. And he ended up moving away. It's like every time something kind of got going, something would kind of stop it. So that last go was like in 2003 or 2002, I think. And then in 2003, I got my job at UPS, and that pretty much took over my life. Plus, during the time of working at UPS, I owned a gym for 7 years. So I owned a business plus UPS all in one go. So from 2009 to 2016, I had my gym. And in 2016, I decided to close my gym. And as soon as I closed the gym, this guy about 30 minutes away from me, I hear there's a place called Lightning Pro Wrestling Training School. And I got on their Facebook page, liked a post. By the next morning, he had sent me a message. Hey, kind of checking you out here, seeing that you had a picture with Hulk Hogan and seeing a bunch of wrestling stuff. He's like, are you just a fan? Are you a wrestler? I'm like, I kind of got in the ring, here and there for a while. Something I'd still like to do. He's like, come on out, So I actually went out there, started training with these guys. And I don't know that he had really should have been a certified trainer or anything. It's kind of a thing that he had started up. He had a ring. So it was fun. There's several of us go out there, and then we started having like shows like every month, every few weeks. And it was just free shows for people to come watch us. And we was getting a pretty good following, but that guy that was running it, he liked to do things that he shouldn't have did, and the next thing you know, it was just kind of done. That was 2016 when that all started.
Okay.
And it wasn't even quite a year, but it was fun. I was their champion until the end, so that was going on. And while I was still part of that, CCW was still a pretty new company, Cape Championship Wrestling, and I won some tickets to a event on their Facebook page, and then I just kind of started going to some of their events, and then I kind of got to know the owners down there, and I was like, man, it'd be cool if you guys had some kind of a training or something. And they're like, oh, you ought to just kind of watch. And they did, like, I remember they had a seminar with Jerry Lynn, and I went to that. I was like, I'm going to do anything that I can to try to learn and do this, and get better.
Right.
And then they ended up starting a actual training thing down there. And I guess it was 2017 when I started going down there. It was just to set up the ring, go there early, set up the ring, do whatever they needed to do, train, take the ring down at night. So I did that every month for a year. And then they started putting me on their shows. And it's just pretty much from pretty much 2018, the beginning of 2018 till now, I've just nonstop been doing something, and I've just kind of branched out from there. So thank God CCW came along when they did.
Yeah, it sounds like,
because it's like every time it's like something was getting to go, it's like something stopped it, and
right.
So pretty excited.
When the timing's right, everything will fall into place. I really believe that. And it feels like it has for you. And you seem to have a pretty large fan base just with, the CCW crowd and the new breed crowd. And yeah, like I said, it all starts when it's supposed to. I believe that.
100%.
So one thing that you did bring up was you work with UPS. And that's got to be an interesting job. I'm sure you meet all kinds of interesting folks doing that.
You name it, and it's probably happened to me.
Yeah. So I do have one question about that. What is, if you can answer this or not, I don't know, but what is the strangest thing that you've had to deliver?
The strangest thing that I've had to deliver? Oh boy, strangest thing I've had to deliver. I've had to deliver a coffin.
Oh, whoa, really?
And the thing that sucked, it was a baby coffin.
Oh no.
And yeah, it was in a box and stuff, but I knew what it was.
Yeah.
And it was weird.
Yeah, that
was pretty strange.
Yeah, that would do it. That's not one that you would want to have to do. I know that for sure.
Yeah. I've never been a big fan of going in the funeral homes anyway, but it's like, ugh. And it was just this little bitty box, and I knew what was in it. It was like, oh no. It was, weird.
Yeah. I actually have a buddy who worked for another, it's not UPS. I think it's called DHL.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he actually got to deliver some championship belts to Jason Jones's house.
Oh, nice.
So, and then when we went to a show, he was like, I think I delivered belts to his house, and sure enough, it was him. So, and that was like our first show that we went to. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah. So you never know who you're going to run into doing that.
Yeah. And that's the pretty neat thing about, people know I'm a UPS driver and a wrestler, and they see my post. So it's pretty cool, driving down the street, they'll be like, "Yo, Slammer," and they're over there double bicepping me. I'm like, yeah.
So I think I know the answer to this one, but I want to go ahead and ask you, who would you say is one of your biggest influences for your character?
1,000,000% Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, he's my favorite wrestler. He's always been my favorite wrestler.
Right.
And the whole thing, it's funny when a lot of people are like, "You Hulk Hogan ripoff." It's like, I'm not trying to be Hulk Hogan. I don't look like him.
Right.
It's like I do a few of his moves. I do, when I was a kid, what do you say? Train, say your prayers, eat your vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that.
Mm-hmm.
If I can pass that information along to some little kid that might get that would be pretty awesome. I'm trying to be an influence to people. Hey, train, say your prayers, eat your vitamins.
Right.
It's just a way of life, And I mean, my move set, I do the big boot and the leg drop, but
right.
That whole thing, when I was down at CCW, if this is okay, if I get into how this all got going,
sure.
I guess, yes, you wanted to know the Hulk Hogan thing. So,
yeah.
So anyway, when I was still doing their training and stuff, Jason, the booker, had come up to me and he's like, "Hey, every year we have a event, which we're getting ready to have one in 2 weeks at CCW, the One Night Riot, which is basically Royal Rumble rules, one entrant every couple minutes, 30 wrestlers." So was that 2018? I think it was 2018, February-ish, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The month before that, he said, "Hey, I'm going to have you be in the One Night Riot next month." I was like, "Oh, okay," and I just was elated that I was finally going to, be on the card as a wrestler. And I just remember thinking, all right, man, Chris Slammer. All right. And I was like, I had ordered me some trunks and boots, which weren't in yet. And they weren't going to even make it in by the time of this event, which sucked because I had ordered the stuff like 4 months before. And I ended up having to go through PayPal for them to get a hold of this guy to finally get my stuff to me, which I finally ended up got, but it was, after the event.
Right.
But anyway, they asked me, the booker, he's like, "Hey, do you have anything like early 90s looking Hogan?" And I was like, "You mean like this?" I have a tie-dyed Hulkamania tank top. He's like, "That's it." He's like, "Bring that and wear it." So I had that and like a head bandana, and I was like, all right. And then one of the guys had some red trunks that I borrowed, and I had some weightlifting shoes. I was like, I already had some knee pads. I'm like, okay, so now I'm Chris Slammer, deranged. What it was, he was going to have. I came out and I threw a couple guys out, and then I had to meet up with a great big guy. It was almost kind of like an Andre Hogan type moment.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, everybody that knew me, my social media, everything is Hulk Hogan. Here I am with
right.
Hulk Hogan. Blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
So people associate me with Hulk Hogan a lot because of my posts and things. So it kind of just worked into this. Me at first I was kind of a deranged. I beat Macho Man with this move. Blah blah blah. But anyway, now it's kind of me. But
yeah,
I have my Hulk Hogan ways per se, but
right.
I still do my stuff.
Oh yeah. No, I love that because I mean, as a kid, Hulk Hogan was my favorite. That's what I loved. And I remember I had the old Hulkamania hat and I wore it all the time. And I was still little whenever he flipped the heel on WCW. Okay. And I remember I threw the hat on the ground when he did that and started crying because it just broke my heart, because I was this little kid, and he was my hero, and so, but over time, I realized, okay, this is all right. It's kind of cool, and everything. Yeah. And I kind of got back into it, but Hulk Hogan was always the one that got me into wrestling to begin with. But then, as
Yeah.
time went on, Attitude Era came along, things like that. And then Ruthless Aggression, and I have all these other ones that I love to watch now too. But Hulk Hogan will always have a special place for me because he was the first wrestler that I love to watch.
That's awesome. And when he turned, it was time for him to do something different.
Yeah.
And I mean, once he turned, man, I was right there with. I was like, this is awesome. And I always liked Hall and Nash, so I mean, it was just so perfect at the right time, and wrestling just needed that at the time. And
right,
man, I love the NWO. That is like probably my favorite thing. And that's, people ask me, like, do you like red and yellow Hogan or black and white? It's like, man, I got to give the edge to the black and white, because it was just so cool.
Yeah, it was. And I think that is where I realized there's something more to this. It's not just, it's not what they say it is. I started realizing, oh, well, this is a story, so it's kind of a memory that I'll never forget, is whenever he did the turn, and I can appreciate it now.
Yep.
So who would you say is one of your favorite opponents to wrestle?
One of my favorite opponents to wrestle. Oh boy. I'll tell you what, that last match I had with Superstar Steve, I mean, he is so good that I watched that match back, and he made me look like $1 million. At least I think that I did. I mean, and Scott, the promoter, he even told me after the match, he goes, that's one of the best matches I've seen in a while. So that meant a lot to me. It's like, wow, I must have really been on my game that night. It just was a fun night. It sucked that I lost, but man, that match was fun, and I really enjoyed that. So, I mean, I really have enjoyed almost every single match I've had. I would say I've literally enjoyed almost every single person I've been in the ring with. I mean, there's been a couple of exceptions in there. You've got you get a couple guys with a little bit of a attitude or whatever, and
yeah,
I won't get into all that. I mean, there's just been a couple of people that, I mean, I would not want to, deal with again. But
right.
Other than that, I mean, 99% of everybody I've wrestled has just been super cool. And
I think every area of wrestling has that.
Something. Yeah. I feel like I've learned, whoever I wrestle, I take something away from almost every match. It's like, oh,
right.
wow, I did this, but I could have did this a little better,
Yeah.
So it's always a learning experience and just something fun and new. And I just always want to get better. So I like to wrestle people that are good, kind of like, like Steve. I mean, dude's done it forever, and it's just cool to get their knowledge and do something with them and have a good match,
Yeah. So would you say that match that you mentioned is your favorite match that you've had?
Yeah, I got to say that was pretty fun. Now I won that belt. Well, the TV title, I actually won that in a battle royal.
Okay.
Which that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But, I beat the Suplex Cyclone, Kurt Gannon. You've heard of him, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you haven't. I don't know.
Anyway, no, I've been talking about him, trying to get him on the show.
He's great. I mean, I here he is, a suplexing machine, and somehow I've walked away 3-0 against him.
Wow. That's awesome. That's saying something there.
Yeah, he that German suplex, that is something. I always said I never wanted to take that German suplex. He's probably done it to me 20 times in 3 matches, and that's 20 times too many.
That can get rough.
Yeah.
So do you have a favorite feud that you've been in?
A favorite feud? Well, I had a tag team partner down in Cape, and we were a tag team for quite a while. We weren't very successful per se. So we started to have a feud after he turned on me. And that was at CCW, and it never got resolved at CCW. So that's always kind of bothered me.
Yeah.
So that is a feud that we had. Now,
Okay.
we actually here locally in Farmington, there was an event that happened here back in October, and it was a lucha show. And the Mexican restaurant here in town had been getting, hey, will you promote this? I'm like, I want to be on it. And I ended up talking to the promoter and got on the card, and he, put me and my ex-tag team partner in a match together. So I did get the win over him. So I got a little bit of retribution, but I never kind of got that in front of the CCW crowd. That still would have been cool. At the same time, I mean, he turned on me, but it sure would have been cool to have a run as tag team champions with him too.
Yeah, that would have been really cool. So do you prefer to work heel or do you prefer to work face?
I like being face because I'm trying, I like for the kids to look up to me and stuff.
Right.
And at the same time, man, working heel sometimes can be pretty cool. The first time that I did it was by accident.
By accident.
And by accident, I went to a show, an event at South Broadway here in St. Louis, and I just went as a fan. I know some of the wrestlers, and I went there, and the promoter was like, "Yo, Slammer, come here." I walked over there. He's like, "We had somebody not show up tonight. Did you bring your gear with you?" Yep. And had a talk with them, and they said, "Okay, we're going to put you in a match with CJ Shine, who is one of their top baby faces." And it was a 15-minute Broadway, and I'm always been a baby face. So when I came out, I mean, they were booing me because I'm wrestling one of their top baby faces. Right. So I just kind of went with it. And my buddy that went with me said, "Hill Slammer is one of the coolest things that I have ever seen." So I must have did pretty good at it because he's a big wrestling fan, and he said it was pretty cool.
That's something I would like to see.
It was fun, and it was fun to interact with the fans, especially when we get a lot of people there. And so when you get 400 or 500 people there booing you, yelling at you, it's pretty fun to interact with that.
Right. So speaking of the fans, do you have like a favorite moment of a fan interaction?
Let's see. Probably that same night when I was Hill by accident. I just had these people they were really carrying on, flipping me off, yelling at me. And I just sat between the ropes, and I got a picture of it. And I just held the ropes up. I said, "Step on up." And I kind of seen the security guards kind of walk over there by the rail. I was like, "Step on up here, man."
They just getting prepared.
It was fun. Yeah, it was fun.
Oh, that's great.
Most of my fan interactions are fun. I love the kids coming up. I love taking pictures with people. And so most 99% of the time, it's a good, positive, let's get a good double bicep slammer pose picture, and talk to the fans for a minute.
Yeah. You can definitely tell when in the pictures that I've seen of you with fans and everything that you enjoy doing that. You can see the joy in your face with that. So
it's great.
So I notice you have two different accounts. You have the Chris Slammer, and then you have Slammer on Facebook and stuff. Yep. And so you're very interactive on both of those accounts and everything. And it seems to be kind of helping bring more attention to the Chris Slammer gimmick.
Yeah. Self-promotion is your best promotion.
Right.
And people like to be interacted with when they do talk to you.
Yes.
So I do enjoy interacting with the fans like that. And I try to make some kind of a post that's going to be entertaining in some sort of way. It's like, I don't do any, you'll never see anything negative out of me on Facebook. I'm not going to throw out political views. I'm not going to make some dumb post that doesn't make any sense. It's typically going to be something wrestling related. It might be something to do with my UPS or something.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to make it fun, and it, yeah. And also, just the interactions and stuff, and, promoters and stuff see that. And I think that's helped me a lot with a lot of the stuff I've done, because promoters like to see you out there promoting stuff, because that means you must promote your events and what's coming up. So I'm always happy to promote and help myself out and help that promotion out that I'm working for, because I want everybody to succeed.
For sure. Yeah, no, I totally get that. You've got to kind of, and that's kind of a goal that, you got to try to set goals for yourself on trying to help out with what you're trying to do, and whenever you're working with these other organizations and stuff, because you are trying to build that up, like you said.
Yep.
So what are some of the long-term goals that you have for your wrestling?
Long-term goals. I mean, the ultimate all wannabe goal, I want to be on Monday Night Raw. I mean, that's just just the ultimate dream would be to be on WWE. I mean, that's just
Right.
the childhood want to do. I know a lot of guys that are, extras on Monday Night Raw and stuff. You've seen the Iceman on there and stuff.
Yes.
SmackDown. It's just like, if I could just get that, I just want to so bad be on Monday Night Raw or something,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's a goal that I have that I think is still attainable.
Yeah.
I'd say as far as goals, every wrestling organization I'm in, I want to be the champion, of course. So I just have good matches. I just want to be on the shows, do a good job.
Yeah.
I want people to, want to come see me.
Right.
I try to give I want people to come see me. So yeah, I hope that was a good answer. I was trying to word it the best that I could. I want people to come see me. I want to be your champion.
Right.
I want to have a good match, and I want to entertain and just keep doing my thing.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense to me. So I did want to go back to something. You have the picture where you met Hulk Hogan and stuff. What was it like meeting him, and did he hold up to the standard of that vision that you had of him?
Yep. He's been super cool. He's got that shop down in Florida at Clearwater, and
Okay.
I've been there a million times, and I've just kind of become, friends with the guy that runs it for him. And he's made it possible, hey, Hogan's going to be here in a little bit. Okay. and the last time I seen him was in 2018, and it was about 3 weeks before they had the NWO reunion down there, and it was like Hogan, Nash, and Hall.
Yeah.
And I was there about the way I have to do my vacations at UPS. I pick my vacations a year in advance.
Oh wow.
So
okay.
I already know I've got 6 weeks of vacation next year, and I've already got my 6 weeks already planned. So
wow.
like there, in 2018, I was down in Florida just a few weeks before that event. But anyway, I was down there, and we walked in there one morning. We had just worked out at Bushwhacker Luke's gym, which me and Luke, I've become very good friends with Luke over the years. And Hogan was coming down to his shop because he was going to need to sign some stuff to have for that reunion. And me and my wife, we was in there. October is an awesome time of year to be in Clearwater because it is downtime. Kids are back in school. People really aren't on vacation at that time.
Yep.
So it is like literally me and my wife at Hogan's shop. We're just kind of hanging out, talking to the guy that runs it. And he's like, Hogan's going to be here about 1. And this is like 11. It's like, okay, well, we're going to go get something to eat. We'll probably come back.
Yeah.
So we came back 12:30 or so, and he's talking to him and the worker in there, and 1 o'clock-ish came along, and the girl that worked there, we'd seen her go up and by the front door, and seen her lock the door, and it's like, did she just lock the door? And Hulk comes out, and it was me and my wife, Hulk Hogan, and the manager and the girl working at the shop there.
Wow.
And Hogan came out there and was signing all this stuff, and we spent about an hour with him in there. And it was awesome.
That's cool. That's a dream come true right there.
Yeah, and it still blows my mind to this day. It's like, wow, we literally sat there and talked to Hulk Hogan for an hour, and it's like it wasn't no setup. Like he has his autograph sessions where you can pay to go meet him. It's like literally there I was, just we just hung out and talked to him, just like we're just talking now, just having a good time. He just so happened to be signing some stuff while we was talking.
That's cool. I've got to do that with one wrestler, and it was last year at the Northwest Arkansas Comic-Con. Booker T was there, and
nice.
There was a lull. Like there was nobody in line. It was just him, just hanging out there by himself. I was like, okay, now's my chance to go up there. And I just went and we just talked for a few minutes. It was just a normal conversation, like you said, like me and you are having right now. We talked about my podcast a little bit, and he was such a down-to-earth guy. It was really cool. So, it's always refreshing whenever you meet these people and they are down to earth and you're able to have a good conversation with them.
Yeah, it's kind of like Jimmy Hart. I mean, Jimmy Hart, he was up here at CCW a couple of years ago. And I'm a huge Jimmy Hart fan anyway. And when I seen him walk in, I was like, oh my gosh, it's Jimmy Hart, So he was just sitting there in a chair, and he was so cold because he lives in Florida. Here it was January, and it was cold outside. Poor Jimmy's sitting there with gloves on, cold. But he was just sitting there. And I just ran over to him, and I just said, hey, man, thank you so much for being here, up at our event. Like literally one of my favorite people. And he's like, and he just started talking to me, and he was talking to me. I'm like, next thing I know, I'm just kind of sitting there. I kind of sat down there by him. And I talked to him forever. And then they had me kind of sit with him at his table and stuff, because they knew what a big fan I was, man. And got to see him a couple of times now. And gosh, he's so awesome.
That's cool. That is really cool.
And that's like Bushwhacker Luke. He owned that gym down there right above Hogan's shop, and he sold it a couple of years ago to a guy. But we've been down there working out so many times while he owned it, and I've just become friends with Luke. And me and Luke were actually supposed to tag team together this past July, and the event got canceled.
Oh man,
that's
gonna be
so
heart-wrenching.
Disappointed. It's like it's like, man, that we got to make that happen still.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I'm guessing you said that you've become pretty good friends with him, right?
Yeah.
He's a pretty down to earth guy, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Yeah. And last year, me and Heather, we went down to Clearwater, and I text him. I'm like, hey, we'll be down. He's like, hey, let me know when you're here, and we'll grab breakfast or something. That's the very first thing that happened. Like the first full day we was there, we met up with him like first thing in the morning, and he literally bought us breakfast and hung out with us. And it's like, I'm like 5-year-old Chris sitting there freaking out because even though I've been with him many times, it's like it's like Bushwhacker Luke here. It's like they came to take our order, and I ordered like 2 pieces of toast. My wife's like, I knew you wasn't in your right mind because you ordered like a piece of bread to eat. And like when they bring it out, Luke's like, that's all you're gonna eat. And it's like, I knew you was out of it.
So I had a cool thought come to mind whenever you was talking about Jimmy Hart and everything. Wouldn't it be the coolest thing ever for him just for one match to manage you?
That's the other thing. And I want that to happen so bad. And I was that's still on my list too. I would love to have Jimmy walk out with me to be my manager.
Yeah. I know he's been doing a lot of stuff with Mid-States Wrestling here recently. He's done a few events. I've seen him with Jason Jones quite a bit.
And Jason Jones probably needs to bring the slammer in, it?
Definitely. So let's kind of get into a little bit more about you and everything. What are some hobbies that you have outside of doing wrestling?
Outside of wrestling, pretty much my life is consumed with UPS for the most part, Monday through Friday. But every night I come home. Like I said, I used to own a gym.
Yeah.
Owned it until 2016, and I actually had the building until 2018.
Okay.
So when I got rid of the building, I had to move what equipment that I wanted to use that I could put in my single car garage at my house that I used to have.
Okay.
We moved into our new house in 2019, and one of the awesome things with this house is it had 1,000 square foot outbuilding. So I've got a commercial gym in my backyard.
That's
and
nice.
That's where I spend most of my time in the evenings when I'm home. And I've got this, I got a wrestling room downstairs with all my toys and wrestling memorabilia and stuff. So I love to collect wrestling figures and anything wrestling. So pretty much wrestling is pretty much my life.
So you said you collect wrestling figures. Do you have any that are, what's your favorite wrestling figurine that you've got?
Boy, that's tough.
It is tough. I know that as a collector myself, I know what you mean.
I mean, it's funny because I just have so many and I got so many different types. It's like, this new Superstars line that's just came out that kind of look like them old Rimcos.
Yes. Yeah. I love those. Those are cool.
I've got the first 3 series already. And these are some of my most favorite things. And that Hollywood Hogan, I had to have it. It's like, if I just had this one, then I'd get the whole series. That's like one of my favorite figures. And just like, I got all of the first 2 series of the Hasbro line from the, 1990.
Oh, okay.
And you remember the Bendums, the Just Toys Bendums? And all my stuff has been on card too. All this stuff's unopened.
Okay.
I'm an OCD. I like stuff neat freak.
Yeah.
And I've got the entire Bendum series.
Really?
So I don't know if you ever see my little videos and stuff, but I try to put videos on my stuff just to show what I have. So yeah.
I'll have to go through and look for those. I haven't got to see those videos yet.
Yeah, if you look at my reels, I just put one on a couple days ago on my Facebook reels. So yeah, that's I got some pretty cool stuff.
That's cool. It's funny because the just about every wrestler that I've brought on here, they have some form of wrestling toys that they keep. There's another guy that I'm actually going to be bringing back on next month, Joe Helms. And he's always posting.
I know Joe.
You know Joe? Yeah, he's a good guy. And he always posts pictures and stuff whenever he gets new wrestling toys and stuff like that. So but I've started my own collection as well. But it's funny because, like I said, all these wrestlers and they have toys too. So
yeah. Mine's pretty cool. I'm sitting here looking at it all right now. It's like I come down here and I just sit and I could sit here and look at one action figure and just look at it forever and just be like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice because it brings you joy, and not everybody understands that, but just being able to look at them, because like all of mine, I've got mine right behind me right now. And some of them there's reasons why I got them, and then there's some of them I just thought they were cool to look at. So, but
right.
Like I said, not everybody's going to get it.
Nope.
So do you have a dream match, like one that you would like to have before you were to hang it up?
Oh gosh. I really don't know that I really have a dream match. I want to wrestle everybody everywhere. So is that a dream match? Sure.
Your dream is to wrestle everybody.
It is.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. So what is your process whenever you're going to prepare for a match? Do you have a ritual that you like to do before you go out there?
Pretty much. I'm kind of a guy I know my social media presence probably portrays me as being like a real sociable person, but I'm really not. I'm kind of that person. I like to stay home, and stuff like that. So when I get into the locker room, I do my hellos and stuff, but I pretty much find somewhere where I can mostly be by myself, or, for the most part, I just like to, as soon as I get wherever I'm at, the first thing I do, I change into my wrestling gear, and I, just try to kind of be by myself, stretch out a little bit, and then just kind of go hang out by my merch table, get things set up, and be out by that, for the most part. But, just your normal, I'm the stretching guy. I'll be back there stretching out and stuff. And, somebody asked my daughter, they're like, "Hey, we seen your dad. He's just kind of over there in a chair by himself. Is he okay?" She's like, "He's okay. That's just how he is." So if any wrestler ever sees me and I'm just off by myself, I'm okay. I just
You're not moping.
Yeah, I'm just off by myself.
Sometimes you just need that, I mean, I totally understand that. You've got to get yourself in a mindset, I would, whenever you're about to go out there and do your thing too. So you've got to almost get in that mind space, and so I can understand needing that time to yourself to get there.
Oh, you have to. I mean, it's just, you just got to.
Yeah. So do you have a favorite current wrestler?
A favorite current wrestler?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a good one. Favorite current wrestler? I should know this answer. I mean, there's several guys that I do like. I mean, I'm still a Chris Jericho fan. I've always been a Jericho fan. I guess he's still current.
He is, yes.
I like CM Punk. I don't know that he's really current right now since he's not doing anything. I like Roman Reigns. I used to not like Roman Reigns. He's kind of somebody that kind of grew on me over time.
Right.
But if you remember back in the 90s, The Rock really wasn't a fan favorite of anybody's by any means. But once he kind of came into his own, started being The Rock, and not, kind of started to like him a little bit more. So,
right.
Yeah, I do like Roman Reigns. I enjoy, when he comes out, and I do like Cody Rhodes. So yeah, I mean, there's a few guys out there that I don't really, there's nobody I really dislike. For the most part, I mean, there's some guys I wonder, I don't get the appeal of them, like John Moxley. I never really liked him as Dean Ambrose,
Yeah.
I mean, he's fine and all, but I don't get the whole thing with him.
I understand that one. I'm right there with you. Out of the three of them, I think he was my least favorite. And for me, Roman Reigns, my thing, I like him now, like you do. But they kind of shoved him down our throats for a while. And
that's probably what it was.
I'm one of those, you do that to me, I'm going to buck, I'm not going to go with it. You're trying to force something. I'm the same way with my friends. Will be like, "Oh, you need to watch the show. You need to watch the show." Well, the more that they bug me about it, the less I want to watch that show. So, it's the same way with the wrestler, "Oh, he's the man. You got to like him." No, I don't. So,
yeah.
But Rollins, I've always liked. I'll just go ahead and say that.
I do like him. I don't like his current thing. I don't really like the whole laugh thing and all that. That kind of is annoying, but
yeah, I agree.
But as far as a wrestler goes, he can go, and I mean, he's great as far as wrestling goes.
Well, I mean, he'll when he comes back, I think we'll see a different character, because I know he is out with an injury. I think right now he hurt his knee again, and because he posted that rebuild tweet out from whenever he got injured the last time. So maybe whenever he comes back, we'll see something new from him.
I got the TV on in the background here, and I just seen him hobbling out there on crutches. It looked like him and Austin Theory, which I do like Austin Theory. I do like him a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's Monday. I always watch mine on Hulu, they have a 90-minute version of it that kind of does the main parts of Raw. And so that's usually how I watch it on Tuesday, is when it shows up on there. So I always forget
that's
it's Monday.
The best way to watch it. Make it a condensed version.
Yep.
I've seen. I won't say I've watched every episode of Monday Night Raw since '93, but you couldn't have made me miss it from '93 to 2 years ago. But I mean, it's just not good anymore.
Right. Yeah.
It's hard to watch.
It is. There's some things I do like about what's going on, but it's very hard to watch.
There's glimmers of hope, but it's really hard to watch. And I know a lot of people that feel that same way. It's like just like you're explaining, it's like you understand.
Mm-hmm.
I told my wife about a week or so ago, there was a match on TV, and I said, hey, she was walking through the room. I said, hey, come here and look at this real quick. She's like, what? I said, look at those fans at this Monday Night Raw. And she goes, they're just sitting there not doing anything.
Yep.
I said, you remember like in the 90s? I said, you couldn't get people to sit in their seats because they were coming out of it.
Right.
So it's a different ball game these days.
It is. One of the things though, also when it comes to the fans, it's hard to get them to interact now because they've seen it all,
Yep.
And so they're not seeing anything new. So therefore they're not getting excited about it. And it's very hard to get that fan to pop like they would before.
Right.
Yeah. So I've only got a few more questions for you on here, and then we'll get you off of here. But where all have you wrestled at?
Where all have I wrestled at? Well, Cape Championship Wrestling, which we're based out of Cape Girardeau, Missouri. New Breed, of course, which we're all over the place up there. That I always say the Lake of the Ozarks area. It's Eldon, Sedalia, Fulton, Columbia, Macon, all those areas up that way.
Yeah.
And I've been wrestling at, which I'm going to be at this Saturday night, MMWA up in St. Louis. And we wrestle at the South Broadway Athletic Club up there, which is right up by the brewery. And this place is rocking. I know that as of last night, we were 28 seats away from a sellout, which is 500 tickets. And that place is rowdy from the minute the bell rings for the first match until the bell rings for the end of the main event. And it is so much fun, man. I'm so pumped to be back up there. So wrestle there. I've wrestled in Illinois now a couple times at Pro Wrestling Epic and Illinois Elite Wrestling.
Okay.
I've wrestled at American Hostile Championship Wrestling. They're based down in southern southeast Missouri, like that Poplar Bluff area down there.
Okay.
And I've wrestled down at Revolutionary Wrestling in Arkansas.
Okay, cool.
Several times. So I've been around.
You've been to a few places, yeah.
I have been. And I think that's pretty much everything, unless I'm missing something.
So if people want to follow you online, how can they do that and where can they find you?
Well, Chris Slammer on Facebook. I also have my Slammer fan page on Facebook. On Twitter, I'm at MaxGym, MacsGym. That was the name of my gym that I used to have. It's still my handle on Twitter. Instagram is Chris_Slammer. I think it's all lowercase letters too. I'm on TikTok at Slammermania. I got a YouTube channel, and I think I'm Chris Slammer on there. I think that's all my. Is that all my socials? Let me look at my phone here real quick. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. I think that covers all those. Yeah, that's all those.
All right. And is there any last thoughts that you want to give to your fans? Any words that you want to say to them before I get you off of here?
Anytime I'm in your area, you should come watch me wrestle, and you'll have a good time. Get a picture with me. and run wild with me, brother.
All right, man.
And train, say your prayers, and eat your vitamins.
Yeah, there we go.
Drink some water, brother. Be healthy. Happy New Year.
All right, Slammer, it was great having you on. I really appreciate you, and I can't wait to see what happens with you in the future.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. Thanks for reaching out. I'm glad we was able to make it work tonight.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Well, you have a great night.
You do the same. Thank you.
All right.
Hello, friends. We'll get you back to your regularly scheduled podcast in just a minute. But first, Ocho here. I am the host of the Drunk Discussions podcast, a podcast that started back in 2017 and has been on hiatus for about 2.5-3 years ever since my co-host left me to go back home to Saskatchewan. But in 2022, I brought the podcast back. And although the show is still trying to refine and reestablish itself and the direction in which it's going, I would greatly appreciate it if you join me on the journey. Sometimes I do the show solo. More often than not, I have a friend or two that stops by to join me on each episode. So if you're a fan of podcasts and you're a fan of shenanigans, especially drunk shenanigans, check out the Drunk Discussions podcast, available on most major podcasts and platforms, including Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and the main source of uploading is Podbean, drunkdiscussions.podbean.com, and you can give the show a follow at DrunkD Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, or Facebook.com/drunkdiscussions. Now back to your regularly scheduled podcast.
Yabba dabba doo. This is Cat's Pajamas, aka Cat's PJs, and I'm the host of Cat's Pajamas radio show. Well, what is it that I got at the radio show, you may ask? I've got everything from live interviews with various people from wrestling to bands and musicians and artists and artist collectives. We talk all things. Conspiracies, scary stories, and fun random music facts. You can check me out on Spotify at Cat's Pajamas Radio Show. Got a really killer playlist for all of you as well. Or you can find me on Instagram, Cat's Pajamas 123. So I hope y'all go ahead and give that a listen. And a special thanks to If You Give a Dot a Podcast for putting me on. Much love. Appreciate it.
So, my name is Matthew Terry. I have a podcast. It comes out every Friday on Spotify, iTunes, most places you can find podcasts. The podcast is It's Time to Fight. It's a wrestling podcast. Now, I see that sour look on your face, but this podcast is different than other wrestling podcasts. It's the highbrow of wrestling podcasts, if you will. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you're looking for a podcast that digs up dirt on people, this is not your podcast. If you're looking for a podcast that tries to nurture controversy to secure clicks, this is not your podcast. My podcast does not sound like a bunch of guys and girls sitting in their basement, hooting and hollering, every second word being an expletive, telling dirty stories, gossiping about the world of wrestling, or pretending that I know more than what I really do. I talk to my guests about things that other podcasts don't talk about, and I take great pride in doing that. Now, in case you're wondering, am I trying to say that my podcast is too good for some people? Not at all. I would never suggest anyone is not good enough to listen to my show. I'm just giving you a heads up. See you Friday.
All right, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed that episode with Chris Slammer. He was a lot of fun to talk with, and he's a really great guy. I'm glad that I was able to get him on the show. So I've got some pretty cool episodes that are coming up over the next few weeks. I'm going to have a few wrestlers, and I'm going to have a few singers, and I'm going to have a comedian. I'm going to have all kinds of people coming, so you guys just stay tuned. Check out the Facebook page and check out the Instagram and all those other places. I will be announcing who will be on. Usually I put out something on the Friday before the episode is released. So if you want to follow me on there to find out who's going to be on the next week, that'd be a great way to do that. I am very excited about it. I've got all kinds of great guests. So yeah, you guys just stay tuned. And if you guys want to follow me on social media so you can keep up with those things, you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on Hive. And if you want to go on any of those, you can just look up If You Give a Data Podcast, or if you want to go directly to it, on Facebook, it's at IYGADAP, the acronym for If You Give a Data Podcast, or as I like to say, IGADAP. You can also find me on Instagram, and that's at Give a Data Podcast. And on Twitter and Hive, it is the same, and that's at DadPodcast11. Also, if you guys would like to send me an email, you can do so by sending it to giveadatapodcast@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from each and every one of you. I appreciate any interaction that I'm able to get with my listeners. It means the world to me, and you guys have no idea how much it makes me smile when I do hear from you guys. If you want to tell me what you think of the episode, if you like it, if you don't like it, if there's a subject that you would like me to bring up or a person you would like me to bring on, then reach out to me and tell me who you would like me to have on or what you would like me to talk about. I'm always open to my listeners to see what they want and what they want to hear. If you guys want to, if you liked this episode, then go out and rate and review it. You can, whatever you're on, you can go give me a thumbs up, give me a star rating, whatever you want to do, but tell me what you think of this episode. So I did tell you guys that I would talk about Comic-Con just a little bit. I got to go to the Northwest Arkansas Comic-Con this year again. It was a lot of fun. I actually got to go with one of my buddies, who I do plan on bringing on the show here pretty soon. We'll just call him Firefighter Matt. He is one of my really good friends that I've had for quite a few years, and I do plan on bringing him on here. We'll talk about all kinds of stuff. We might even have an episode where we talk about some of the crazier things that he has seen on the job as a firefighter. If you guys would like to hear that one, let me know. I think that would be a really cool episode to have on. He's also one of my friends that I watch stuff like Rick and Morty with, and we actually went through, and me and him watched all of South Park together at one time. It took us a few months to get through that, but it was a lot of fun, and so we have a lot of memories of that. And today we got to make some memories by going to Comic-Con together, and we got to meet Billy West, who is he's Fry from Futurama. He's also Professor Farnsworth, and he played on Ren and Stimpy. He was also the Red M&M. This guy has been all kinds of people, and it was really cool. Very down to earth. A lot of fun to get to talk to him and meet him. I also got to meet Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Ho! And I also got to meet JBL. Hacksaw was really cool, down to earth guy, and I had a lot of fun talking to him. And the second that I walked up to JBL, he looked at my shirt, and I was wearing my podcast t-shirt that says, If You Give a Data Podcast. And JBL looked at it and just kind of looked at me, and he was like, If You Give a Data Podcast, what does that mean? So I explained to him that I had a show and stuff like that, and the girl that was sitting there with him was like, oh, that sounds really cool. And so, yeah, might be getting a listen there as well. And if you are listening to this right now, welcome. I am glad to have you here. I also got to talk to a few other people as well. I got to meet Red 2. And if you know what I mean, it is part of the Rogue Squadron from Star Wars, A New Hope, when they're about to go into the tunnel, and on the Death Star and stuff. Red 2, I got to talk to him, and I got to talk to the original Boba Fett, which was really cool to talk with him as well. And for my anime fans, I got to talk to Tenya, the guy who plays the voice of Tenya Ida in the United States. and he was really a lot of fun to talk with. I got to meet the Red Power Ranger today, and I got to meet Zordon. So it was a very fun-filled day. I got to see a lot of people. I got to meet some wrestlers. There's a new wrestling company. You heard whenever I talked with Justin James on the show that he is going to be doing some stuff with a new company that's in my neck of the woods called Diamond State Wrestling. And I got to meet a couple of those guys today, and that was a lot of fun talking with them. And I think that I'm going to be having some of them on in the future, and I'm going to be talking with them a lot more and everything. Their shows are literally right down the road from my house, and so I'm going to be able to go and enjoy those with them being right in my backyard. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I got to meet all kinds of people, and it was just a great time, and I can't wait to go back again next year. I got to network with some people. I actually got a first edition comic book it's a new comic book called Vengeance, and I actually got it signed by the author, and they are creating these comic books as we speak. So I might be having him come on the show to kind of talk about that. There was an author that I met up there that I might be having come on the show as well. I got to network quite a bit, and it was a lot of fun. I'm a people person. I like to talk, and I like to meet new people. So this was right up my alley. I enjoy going to this. I didn't trip and fall this year. I didn't stumble on my words this year. It turned out really good. I had a great time, and I can't wait to go back. A couple more things I want to mention before I get off of here. I want to give a shout out to my podcast network, the OIW Podcast Network. Those guys are awesome. Go listen to their podcasts as well as mine. You can find them on the OIW Podcast Network, which can be found on social media, and they have their own website and everything. I will have the link in my show notes for it. And also want to give a special thank you to DQ for my ending theme song that I have on here that he created for me. I will have links to his stuff as well. So I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Room rounded, but I got a podcast on. He calls us beautiful people, then tells us who we have on. The best part of my day, though we're blocked out in my pods. Tell my friends all about it so that they follow along. And the host is kinda nerdy, but guess what I am as well. I don't feel so alone, and I began walking out of my shell. Heard a story, I needed connection I haven't felt. I'll be looking for the next one, till then farewell. It's the podcast for me. Have it on, better go see. Listen closely, download and tune in remotely. It's the podcast for me. Have it on, better go see. And listen closely, download and tune in remotely.
This podcast is part of the OIW Podcasting Network.